Hey guys, Ryan at Guading Performance. I want to take a few minutes to go over our visit to the track last Friday. It was an outstanding event. It was just testing tune, but a good turnout for us. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to Twin City Raceway. They accepted us with open arms. I mean, they were more than willing to work their butt off to get the track prepped. It was pretty cool outside. There wasn't a ton of cars, so it was a little bit of work for those guys to get the track working and keep it working. Definitely appreciate those guys for everything they did. Also, Shondell Osborne. I've been messaging him back and forth on Facebook, and he kind of helped me coordinate this track day. We've been eyeing the weather for the last few weeks, try to get one more good day before spring rolls in here and the warm air comes with it and the good air goes away. So shout out to those guys. To talk about the weather, it was pretty good. It was in the mid 50s, got down to the low 50s. First pass was about 6:30, 7 o'clock, I think, is when I made the first pass, and the air was about 380 negative 380 DA, about 37 grains of water, went 866 right off the trailer. And then the weather for the best pass was a little bit better, 700 negative DA and about 35 grains. So the water grains were still up there pretty good. Certainly not the best hero air I've ever had, but you know, we'll take what we can get at this point. We were super happy to be able to go out there and make a couple clean licks. All right, for the 866 pass, basically got this thing off the trailer, drove it around, put some heat in it like normal, topped my fuel off, charged the battery, typical stuff, normal pre-race routine, which is fairly new to me with this new setup. At this time I've got 4 passes on the car, 2 of which weren't clean and 2 clean 8th mile passes. Haven't made a quarter-mile pass yet at this point when we showed up to Twin City. Never been there, never been down the track. Kind of checked out the facility, looked at the return road, the shutdown area. I felt pretty comfortable. So got up there, the guys did a great job prepping. I think we pulled it with the gauge, and it was well over 600. And I was the first guy down track. And with the setup, I'm still trying to figure it out. I forgot to raise my shift light. I had it at 7,800, so I shifted. By the time I shifted, it was about 8,050 RPMs. The converter recently got restalled, touched up, so this was the first pass on that. It went well. I mean, the car hooked pretty good. Went on 120 60 foot, 866, 153 and some change, I think, mile per hour. Felt like the mile per hour is a tad low, but we're, you know, at this time, this is the first quarter-mile pass I've made. We're still figuring this thing out. It's going to take some time for sure. It was a clean pass. Shutdown area was a little dicey. I've never been there, and you know, about 3 seconds after I crossed the line, I decided I probably better pull the chute. So I dumped the chute. I got slowed down, coasted around, got my ticket, looked at it. Looked at data, didn't see anything tune-wise that I wanted to change at that point. Was pretty happy with the pass. Like I said, hooked. I short shifted it. It was just a good clean A to B pass right off the trailer. For the second pass, I wanted to do, you know, much the same as what I did on the first pass, just to make a good clean lick. I did raise the shift light to about 8,100. I was trying to shift this thing. I was going to try to shift 84, 8,500, creep it up a little bit and see how it responded, see if it showed me anything on the slip. And one thing I didn't do between rounds when I charged the battery, I didn't look in the fuel cell. I have a 3-gallon fuel cell up front. And I guess it was low enough that from the fuel it used on the first pass that it sloshed a little bit, kind of hiccuped a few times off the line. I ran it out past the 8th. It was pretty slow to the 8th. It went a 570 or something like that at 124, almost 125. Did shift the 2.3 a little bit higher, but after the 8th mile, making that clean 2.3 shift for data, I just shut it down. I coasted through, I think, a 920 or something like that at like 110 or 117. So nothing exciting about the second pass other than just grabbing some data and seeing how it looked in the upper RPMs. For the third pass, was gonna just try to go up there and make a good clean pass like I was attempting to do on the second pass. The track was cooling off. They had a car dump some oil on the track, so it was shut down for a little bit. And they sprayed it and everything. They sprayed it shortly or right before I went up there actually, and I don't know, it didn't get drug again, so I'm not sure if the glue just didn't have time to really do its thing. But the third pass was the car, initially took the power, rolled maybe 1 or 2 feet, and just turned loose and just instant spin like I was on glass. So I just shut it down, coasted down track, and that was that. After the third pass, after I knocked the tires off pretty violently. For the last pass, it was getting late. It was about, I don't know, at this time it was probably about 9:30. I was cooling the car down. I decided to make a suspension change up front. I loosened my front end travel limiters up in one hole, gave me about another ½ inch or so of travel, and dropped the tire pressure back down from 18 to about 17. During that time, those guys, man, they went to work on the track. They drug it, they sprayed it, and they drug it again, and they had some big tire slick cars go down through there and put some heat back in the track. I think the track temp got back up to about 57 or 59 degrees. I forget what he said, but it was prime. It was good. The air had cooled off just a little bit. Water grains, like I said, about 35. Didn't make any changes to the tune-up on the car. No timing changes, no fuel changes. Just gonna try to shift the car higher. So I did my thing. Went up there, foot brake, 4,200 or so. Still figuring that out as well. Left the line, ripped off. Yeah, I could tell it was a really clean 60 foot, which ended up being a 116, best 60 foot the cars had. Saw the shift light come on, instantly grabbed it, about 8,500, just 1-2 shift. Ripping through second, shift light comes on, good clean 2-3 shift. I sat on the shift light for a second, then I grabbed it, about 8,600 on the 2-3 shift, and then it went out the back. I was staring at the shift light on for about the last couple seconds probably, and crossed the traps 80, 8250, 8260 RPM, somewhere around in there. Got a 391 gear in the car, and it was a clean lick. Got the slip, man, I was ecstatic. 855, 154 and some change. The car picked up a mile per hour at the quarter and almost about a mile and a half or so at the 8th. Really the only thing I did different was shift the car a little higher. So we're still figuring some things out there. It was a nice clean pass. It was getting late though. I didn't want to test my luck with another pass. Get up there and spin, knock the tires off, risk breaking something. We'll live to fight another day. We got some good data on the car. Everything looks fantastic. Couldn't be happier with the first outing and 2 clean passes. So as far as the build on the car, there's so much going on with a build like this. I don't think many people just truly don't understand. And I don't know that I even did when I jumped off into this build, going from 920s to where I'm at, and how much harder that was, and incrementally how much harder it gets the faster you go. But it is what it is. So I decided after a couple years ago, I got outran, and I just didn't have enough car. You know, I have a stock suspension. You know, just the car, factory doors, factory panels, nothing fancy. So I decided to get me some fiberglass doors, fiberglass deck lid, a strut front suspension kit, and we were going to start there. I was going to get a little bit of weight out of the car, and it just kind of snowballed, and it kind of went from there. So just to give you a quick rundown, I'll start at the power plant. It's a stop bottom end LS3, and by definition, for the last 20 plus years, according to all the internet rules that I've come across, it basically means it's a factory block, it's factory pistons, factory rods, factory crank. I'm running factory main bolt hardware, factory rod bolts. It's all factory in the bottom end. Fly cutting valve reliefs in the pistons has always been permitted. Of course, I did that for a big solid roller. Worked with Kip at Cam Motion, and we came up with a solid roller. We kind of had to back into things and see what kind of free drop I had on the cylinder heads, valve size, plug all that in, see how much piston and valve clearance we had to work with the pockets that I was able to put in there. Came up with a grind, put that in. We haven't made any cam change. That's the one and only cam that's been in this setup. Don't plan on making any changes. It made great power at the RPM I needed it to make, and it's working great. Cesar Tellez was in here from his job. He was on vacation last year at some point, or it may have been over a year ago, when I had these head castings I got from John at CID, LS7 Pro Port castings. And Cesar did a small port setup basically for the small cubic inch engine, with a smaller than normal LS7's valve. I think we're at a 2180 intake valve and a 158 exhaust valve. Of course, it's solid roller, and chambers fairly small, so it's got really good compression. And I tell you, we fit all the cam and all the compression you can fit in a factory piston LS3. I promise there's nothing left. I've left nothing on the table to be able to get from that. Run Crower lifters with high pressure pin oiling. I've got trend push rods, of course. They're huge push rods. Pack springs. Got the Ferrea valves, titanium intake. It's a stainless exhaust, but it's not too heavy on the exhaust. T&D shaft mount rockers, and that pretty much buttons up the top end package. The intake manifold, I tried 3 on the engine dyno, the 4.0, 4.5, and 5-inch cross section CID manifolds. Ended up running the 5. It made the best power on the dyno. I'm not sure that it's going to be the fastest one on the track. We haven't tried any other manifolds yet, so I did have a manifold or a throttle body restriction somewhat on the engine dyno with a 4500. It was pulling a little vacuum in the upper RPM, so I had John machine the manifold for 6500 throttle bores and put a 6500 throttle body on it. That's pretty much it for the engine. I've got a nice oil pan on it. My first outing to the 8th mile, to the 8th mile track, I had the factory pan on it. Forgot I didn't have the baffle in this factory pan, and it was dropping oil pressure a little bit on launch. It would come right back up, so I swapped the oil pan before I went quarter-mile racing, and that alleviated all those issues. I don't have a crank scraper on it yet. That's something else I'm probably going to try to do, and I may try to change some things up with the injection a little bit. Maybe try some different fuels. Right now it's on Q16. We'll see. I don't know. I've got plenty of time to work with this thing. Transmission, worked with James Garst at Cohen. We've got their XLT Turbo 350. It's a factory case. I did put a nice bell on it. Run a blanket on the trans. It's got one of their 8-inch converters. They built me a custom stator. A little loose first time out. Sent it back to them, man. They flipped that thing in a week. I mean, I had it back the same week, and converter is on point. It looks pretty good. So I don't see anything that needs immediate attention there. Drive shaft shop, 3.5-inch aluminum drive shaft I've had in the car forever. The rear end is simple. GM 391 gears, factory housing and case, Eaton True Track. Still got factory axles in the car. BMR suspension arms, BMR upper control arm bushings. What else? And of course, Strange coilovers in the rear. And I run Strange aluminum GT spindle struts up front. Weld wheels, V-series front and rear. 275 Pro tires on the rear for these passes. Mickey front runners. What else? We got a chute on this combo. We knew we were going to be over 150 with the weight and the power. Didn't really know the exact weight until after, actually until today. I knew pretty close, but I had changed some things up. Chandler chassis. Paul Chandler did a fantastic job on the cage. Once I put the fiberglass doors on, I decided, man, I don't want to run this thing without a cage. And I hated to put a 10-point in the car and add 70-80 pounds and be limited, 850, cert. So we talked about some things, and he actually did a 25-2. I've got floor bars, drive shaft loops. It's way more cage than I need for how fast I am, but I've got room to grow into it. And I did, which you'll see in the video, I did steel floor on the driver's side, per spec, and then the tunnel and the passenger floor and the rear closeout where the factory floor was cut out, I did in carbon. And my idea was just get the car as safe as possible, give me room to grow with it, and use some lightweight flooring to try to offset as much weight as I could from the cage work. And the car came in super light. I'm pretty excited. I was hoping it would be about 75 pounds lighter, but it is what it is. I've got a chute on it, all the cage work. The car has optic armor front and rear windows. It has optic armor side windows with fixed frames that I made. It does still have factory front fenders, factory quarters, factory roof, factory strut towers, factory front frame rails, and factory independent rear suspension, factory cradle back there. There's still weight for me to get, and I will be working at that still yet. But in the essence of what these guys have been doing with these stock bottom end NA cars, everybody's ran independent rear suspension, and I wanted to follow suit, so I kept the independent rear, and I'm pretty pleased with how the car is done. Otherwise, I guess that's about it. I'm probably forgetting something, but in a nutshell, that's about it. The car's super light, weighed 2566 with me in it this morning, just in the trim that I ran in the other night in Monroe at Twin City, and made 829 on our engine dyno April 1st of last year. It hasn't been back on the dyno since, not on the engine dyno. And it is what it is. We're keep chipping away at this thing. To be honest with you, I think it's still off a little bit. I think we'll find another 10th pretty easy. I think it's possible I can get this thing in the 830s at the end of the year. We'll see. I'll keep working at it. And, appreciate you guys. Out here Monday morning. Thought before lunch we'd get out here, do a continuous video of scaling the car. There's going to be some questions about how do you run that kind of time with this kind of power? Well, it's pretty simple. It takes horsepower, it takes weight. So I thought it would be good to put this information out there so people can have a better understanding about what it takes to run those types of times. So I've got the scale zeroed out. I'll set the rear down, roll the jack around. We'll put the front down. I'll hop in the car, I've got my helmet and jacket in the car, and it'll be exactly what it weighed for the last pass that I made, which was 855 the other night. Paint. Oh. Too low. Maybe a four-wheel drive light for me. Okay. See? $23.90, no driver. $25.66. $25.66. Here's inside of the car. Total street car. I had to have the carpet on the driver's side over here. I know Paul Chandler Chassis. He's been wanting me to get him the okay on posting some pics. He did the cage work for me. excuse the doors for not being trimmed out on the inside. I just got these things painted. What day? Wednesday night. No, Thursday. Put them back on the car Thursday. So I'm going to put on the doors. I'm going to do all the doors black on the inside and put my carbon panel over for door panels, so they're kind of unfinished. But Paul did me a 25.2 chassis. I didn't want to put a 10-point in the car and be you know, done at 850 cert, so I had him do a 25.2. It's got the floor bars and stuff in it. We took the factory floor out to about somewhere right about here. The rear seat pan up to the floorboards, and driver's side steel. Everything else is closed off in carbon. I did the carbon stuff myself. I absolutely applaud people that do that for a living. I never want to do it again. It could look 1,000 times better if someone professionally did it, I'm sure. It is what it is. Very simplistic. I've got my Terminator X, my little baby dash. Didn't have time for a big heavy dash, so I had to put the baby dash in it. Shift light, Terminator X, set up over there, and we'll go around to the other side. Of course, you got to have the Hearst quarter stick, old school. What else? We can pop the deck lid off back here, but we'll look through. It's not closed off in the trunk, so we'll look through to the back. You can see everything back there. I put the fuel cell and the battery up front, so I didn't have to have the bulkhead closed off. So let me get this jack out of the way real quick. Okay, so yeah, we've got a 16-volt battery up front. Got the 3-gallon fuel cell here, small radiator. The E-fan, the electric fan, popped off. The plastic clips I had secured it to the radiator, it popped loose on the first pass, so I pulled the fan off for the rest of the night. In-tank pump inside the cell. Of course, the engine's fairly well documented. Top bottom end LS3. Big solid rotor cam we spec. The guys at Cam Motion cut for us. And then of course the CID heads that Cesar developed for us down there at Kuntz when he was up here on vacation and graciously didn't mind going to work. All right, passenger side, very simplistic. Leash relay board, leash switch panel up on the roof. Got my chute mount, or a chute handle. Back there in the back, it's just open. Spare tire tub cut out. Aluminum panel over it. Nothing crazy. It's been a long time getting this thing together. I wanted to try to offset as much of the cage weight as I could with the floor and stuff like that. And I weighed the car before I took it up to Paul. Weighed it when I got it back, and it was maybe like 20 pounds, 25 pounds heavier when I got it back than when it went up there, or it was really close. And then I didn't weigh all the parts and pieces for the floor that I put in it, so it probably is a little heavier than without a cage, but not much. Going this route really enabled me to keep the car as light as possible and be as safe as possible. The doors are fiberglass. It's a factory front fenders, factory roof, factory quarters, factory bumper. It does have a fiberglass deck lid on it. Put parachute on it. Because we knew we were going to go north of 150 traps. So 2 quarter-mile passes, guys. It's got more. We're just going to have to, the weather's getting away from us. I needed to get out and make some quarter-mile passes and get somewhere to start from. So we'll continue to work on it a little bit. I'm going to put some more gear in the car and just work from there. We'll see what happens. Anyways, there you have it. 25, what was it, 25?
66.
2566. That's what it takes. That 829 horsepower. Thanks.